More than 50,000 calls have come into the National Human Trafficking Hotline in the past 10 years.
Advocates say that's the tip of the iceberg and that thousands more children are being moved into prostitution.
Texas is one of the toughest places to get a handle on this because of large vulnerable populations and easy access to ports of entry.
The governor has charged one woman with catching the traffickers, but also building an infrastructure of kindness to heal the victims.
KXAN's Phil Prazen takes a look as part of our Celebrating Women series.
Advocates say the state of Texas is much better at catching and punishing pimps than making sure children don't become prostitutes in the first place. Enter Andrea Sparks. She's spent her entire professional life trying to stop traffickers from luring children into the sex trade. And now she's charged with creating an infrastructure to help victims recover once they escape the abuse.
We can't just arrest ourselves out of this problem, right? Even if we arrest this trafficker, if we don't help that victim find a way out, they will be exploited by the next trafficker.
Child advocates rejoiced when Governor Abbott tapped Sparks to lead the governor's child sex trafficking team. She came up through victim advocacy. She worked for years representing foster children in the juvenile justice system. She spearheaded policy at Texas CASA, court-appointed special advocates. Then she was the Texas head for the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. She saw the state lacked coordination, resources, training, and awareness.
We really came in and said, let us help you figure out what the gaps are in your community and help you fill those gaps with some of the resources that we have.
Years ago, there was one residential treatment center in the state in Harris County. Her team coordinated and helped fund new ones in Austin, San Antonio, North Texas, and El Paso, adding a network of community groups specialized in each area. The Refuge in Central Texas is one of those organizations. The governor's team granted several $100,000 to help them grow to 48 beds for survivors with wraparound services, including a UT charter school.
Now a new generation of law enforcement realizes that that there's someone behind her, and that no 16-year-old wakes up and wants to be a prostitute. So now these children are treated as victims, instead of criminals. So that's changed.
Stephen Phoenix from the Refuge says Andrea's team excels in trauma-informed training for state agencies, for local law enforcement, and for schools across Texas.
DFPS investigators and state troopers and Texas Rangers, they said until they had, a training from her, they had no idea. It really opened their eyes about, what to look for.
Welcome everyone to today's webinar.
We tagged along with her as she led training webinars, a sometimes monotonous but important part of prevention.
It is tough to do. It is so tough to prove that prevention works, but we know it works. We know that healthy relationships, mentors, protective factors like that for vulnerable youth make a difference.
Sparks tells me one early sign of success for her team is that victims are cooperating more with law enforcement. That's leading to more arrests and prosecutions. Later this year, her office is expected to release a report detailing the causes of sex trafficking in Texas, and that's a fight to come later. In Austin, Phil Prazen, back to you.
And the key strategies of the governor's sex trafficking team are: protect the children by building awareness, recognize child sexual exploitation, recover the victims with collaborative responses, restore survivors through trauma-informed care, and bring justice by holding traffickers, buyers, and those who profit accountable. This story is one of many featured in our special Celebrating Women. It airs Saturday night at 5 o'clock. All of our profiles are also online at KXAN.com. Look for the Women's History Month link under the News tab.